Hi, welcome back to the Backyard Woodshop. I'm Tom Ryder. Today, I'm going to do my best to answer that question I get more often than any other, and that is, which router system is better? The Kreg Router table system or the Incra Router table system? So, stick around and we'll find out. If you really don't want to watch the entire video, I will tell you right now, the Incra system wins. Flat out. Because of the repeatability and the joinery. But if you want to find out why, and maybe you're still considering the Kreg and what it can do, stay tuned and I'll do my best to compare the two. How do we compare these two? That's the big thing. They both are great router table systems. Honestly, either one you buy, you're going to be fine with for your everyday routing tasks. There are some capacity advantages to the Incra system. You can do a lot bigger panels than you can with the Kreg. One of the other big things, obviously, is Incra is known for their joinery and their accuracy of repeatability. So I can make a groove and totally move the fence, come back a day or a week later and put it back, and that will go right down that same groove again. So it is so accurate, it's crazy, where the Kreg system, you may be off just a hair because it doesn't have that exact repeatability like an Incra system does. If you want, you can pause this video here in a moment. I'm going to put up a simple comparison between the two of the features and the capabilities that it can do, and you can read those. If I start going into all the details of what they can do, this video would be hours long because both are some formidable systems. Now, one of the big things that I will go into is cost. So Incra is going to be basically, if you buy the exact same items from both places, I'm trying to compare these two, and I will put a list of what all you get. The Incra system with everything that the Kreg system comes with is about double. So you're looking at $590 basically for the Kreg system and $1,290 for the Incra system. And you'll see in the list all the different items you get. The one big caveat I want to point out is you are getting an Incra mast-r-lift 2 with the Incra system for that price. And that's a big deal because that's a really good router lift. I have the Jessam version and I love it. I wouldn't trade it. So you don't get any router motors with these, so you'll still have some more money to spend to put in router motors. But that is the big price thing is between the two is cost, but you are getting what you pay for with both. Alright, one of the big things that I think is a big difference between the two systems is this micro adjust. Basically, you don't have to use this unless you want to take it off of those perfect 30-second increments. But if you do, each click, and you can hear they really are audible and nice, is 1/1000th of an inch. So if I'm doing dovetails, like sliding dovetails, and I want those to be a little looser, I can cut them all, have it on 0, make all my cuts with my template, and then come back in 5/1000ths of an inch, cut them again, and those will start to slide in and out really easy. And you basically can just dial in what you want. So if you're cutting for anything like a groove and you want to just add 1/1000th of an inch, you can do that with this system very easily. Lock it back down and you're ready to go. And it'll stay that way until you zero it back out. So you can make your cuts. Oh no, I need to go back and make a cut without those thousandths on there. Well, you can just back it back down to where to 0 and you're ready to go. This is the Kreg Micro Adjust. you can buy this as a separate piece, or you get it with, include it with your master system. So what I like to do, you have to lock this down. Each one of these lines on this outer barrel represents 5/1000ths of an inch. And then I put my hand on the fence, and depending on which way I'm moving it, I kind of push that way or the other. You can see there's just a slight bit of backlash there, but that'll go away once you start one way or the other. So there's 5/1000ths, 10/1000ths, 15/1000ths. Let's say that's where we wanted it. Then we just lock our main lever down, and then we're all set. So that's the micro adjust, and it works just fine. It's kind of small, so it's hard to turn with just your thumb. You need to put your hand on the fence and help move the fence. Let's compare one big thing right now. So you can see the fence here. It's a nice thick aluminum fence, works great. It locks down. It's a T-square style, and it has an end on this side so you don't get any deflection. And once you've got it set up, it stays square, which is really nice. Let's say you're going to run a large piece through on edge. Well, if you've got a push block here and you're pushing on it, see how it wants to kind of tilt a little bit? Well, that's the only disadvantage of a short fence. And I guess you could add an accessory here and make a taller fence, but that's an extra thing you'd have to do to the Kreg system, where on the Incra, we'll run over to it and compare. Now on the Incra system, they've got this high-rise fence that you can attach, or you can take it off with just 2 screws and it's out of your way. But here's that same situation, and even though I'm where my hand is, obviously that'd be a push block there. That just lets me right against this top, and I can't not make it tilt. So it gives me a lot more control of the piece with this high-rise fence. So that's a big advantage there for the Incra. One of the big advantages to the Incra system is its large capacity. This is the 25-inch LS Positioner here, and if I've got the Wonder Fence system as well, which this is called the Super System, but you can take the Wonder Fence off, and that's the 2 front pieces, and that's got the dust collection. But then you won't have dust collection on the fence, but you will get your max capacity, which is 25 inches. Now with that comes a compromise of you get that big capacity, but then you've got to deal with the beam coming out the back. So you need to allot space in the back. So if you have a really small shop, you may need to kind of think about that when you're getting an Incra. You're going to get all the great features, but it comes with this back beam if you need to go that far. But it slides really smooth. It's really nice. I've never had any issues with it. So here is the Kreg system. Works great. You unlock that lock knob on that end. There's a lever you lift on this side, then you can just move it back. And if you're going to use the lock knob, that's your max capacity right there, which is from here to here is about 5.5 inches, which for most of the things you do with a router, this is going to be just fine. But if you like to do bigger stuff when you're routing and you maybe don't have a table saw that big, or you just like using a router to do it, then this system may not work as well for you. So that may be a consideration, but this is the overall capacity of the Kreg system. One of the other things you need to consider is will your fences move in and out for different size bits, and on the Kreg they will. You can make your own fences if you need to, change these out, and that will work just fine as well. One of the nice things about having the Wonder Fence is you can unloosen two bolts right here, and then both sides will move in and out, so that you can do different size bits. Now if you don't have the Wonder Fence attachment, then you'll just have to deal with kind of a smaller opening on the front. You can put sacrificial fences on the front of these and on the front of the regular LS fence, so that's a nice consideration. And the Lexan scales move in and out for if you need to move them for whatever reason, change them out, anything like that. That's the nice thing about this stuff. It's all it can all be moved, which I really like, and repositioned for adjustment. So this is the cursor for measuring, but you can move this to the back glass if you prefer that better. You can also move any of these scales, any of them. The metal one, it stays in this track, but you can reposition it anywhere. It's on a magnet. These scales slide back and forth, every one of them. One of the big things that I like about the Incra system is this scale here that I keep in the center track. It's the centering scale, and if you have a 1/2 inch bit, that's all you have to do is set it to 1/2 inch, and it will auto center onto whatever piece you have by the measurement. So if you have a 10-inch board, you would move your fence to 10 inches and know that that would be directly in the center of that 10-inch board, which would be right at 5 inches. The scales up here, this one is for dovetails, but the other big advantage I like about Incra is they have scales for spacing grooves out, and like 11/16 on center, 1/2 inch on center, so you could have a set of grooves all spaced out perfectly, and you didn't have to measure at all. So they've already done a lot of the math for you on a lot of this stuff, so you're getting a lot of high-end measuring scales and stuff for included in this package. So this is your Kreg scale, and it has a screw that unloosens from underneath, and this scale rides in a track, and that puts pressure on it to hold it in place when you tighten that screw. But you can see you've got 0 to 6 inches, but it'll only go to about 5.5 as far as fence adjustment back. But you can move this scale, lock it down, and position it anywhere you want. So that works just like the Incra as far as sliding it. And you've got your little piece of glass here with a line on it. It's magnified so you can see it a little better. This scale works really well. I've used it many times, and I've never had any issues with it. The only difference is between the Kreg and the Incra is this, you're just using your eye, and that'll get you really close, but you can never be certain that you've 100% repeated that position like you can with an Incra. The other thing to compare is you've got, if you've got the Wonder Fences, you've got a hose that you can hook up with a shop vac or whatever to have dust collection from the fence. Here I've just got it joined with a Y with a smaller hose, and then I've left this hose kind of long, so I got plenty of adjustment for my fence. So both the Kreg and the Incra system have great dust collection in the fence. I'm not trying to compare the cabinets or anything like that. This is more just the fence systems, but they work fantastic. Here is the dust collection on the Kreg table. I've just got a piece of clear hose going to the fence. It works fantastic. This is a Rockler Dust Right fitting here. I like it because it swivels. So however the fence goes, this will give with it. Works really nice, and you just put your dust collection on the back, and the dust collection on the fence works just as good as the Incra on that regard. So one of the big things you get with the Incra system, whichever model Incra you get, is you get this right angle fixture, and this is what lets you stand up boards and make dovetails on it. The plus is you don't have to just make one board at a time. You can gang up as many as you can fit between the piece here and the bit. Normally, you know, I guess depends on what thickness you're doing, but I like to do, if I'm doing drawers, I usually do 4 or 6 at a time, and you can just run each one through, and it just speeds up the process of dovetailing. It's very efficient, so that's a big consideration if you're between the two systems. This is the Kreg flip stop. It'll flip up out of the way, so you can just leave it on your fence, and when you need it, set it down. It has a magnifying measuring glass, and then it's just a simple knob that rides in the track. Lock it back down and you're ready to go. It is switchable from one side to the other, and so far I've never had any issues. It works great. Here we've got the Incra shop stop that comes with your Incra fence. This one is not a flip stop, but because of the repeatability of the Incra, if you want to take this off and put it back on, you know that you'll be exactly in the same spot. This moves every 32nd of an inch, and then there's also micro adjust here, so if you want to go between those you can, and it is movable from right to left. You just change the configuration. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I really appreciate you watching. As you can see, both systems are excellent to add to your shop. If I could say one last thing about the Incra fence, is another thing that helps it win this competition is the fence itself is portable to go onto any other flat table. If you've got the router opening, you can move this right over there. I've done that for a number of years. I've had it in 2 or 3 spots in my shop. Finally, I decided to build a standalone Incra system so that I have it ready to go at any time without that extra couple minutes of putting it on the table. But there's nothing wrong with a Kreg system. I've used it forever and I love it. That's the trouble. I love both these systems and I use them all the time. So if you're having trouble deciding, I'll put that list up here and on the screen again so you can kind of one more time compare the two. Don't forget you've got all that joinery with the Incra system, so now you don't have to buy an extra dovetail jig or anything like that. It's really a fast dovetail and box joint system. Box joints it's even faster. So I appreciate you watching. Hit that like button if you would. Share this video with others, and until the next time, I see you in the backyard.